Let's see here. DeAno, why don't you talk about the Wii U? The Wii U is important as well. You should talk about that. Uh, that you keep talking about the eighth generation, but you don't talk about the Wii U. Why? It goes on and on from there, but okay, I get the point. You want me to talk about the Wii U? Well, today on today's DeAno's Perspective, I'm going to talk about the Wii U, but be careful what you ask for because you're not going to like what I have to say. First and foremost, before I even get into anything else, let me go ahead and say that I like Nintendo, okay? I honestly do. I like Nintendo. The first console I ever owned in my entire life was a Nintendo Entertainment System. I love Nintendo. I'm a big fan of their products. Uh, Having said that, oh boy, here's we're gonna get into it now. When I'm talking about the eighth generation in general, I'm really not talking about the Wii U because I don't consider the Wii U to be, in as many words, an eighth generation console. And yes, I understand that chronologically speaking, the Wii U did come out here in the eighth generation. It launched last year, November sometime last year. So it's been about a year since launch, and they've sold, I guess, okay, round about 3.5 million units, which, for the record, is about what, a fifth of what Microsoft sold Kinects. I'm just putting that number out there so you understand that Microsoft sold more accessories for one of their consoles than Nintendo has sold consoles this gaming generation. But that's neither here nor there. The simple fact of the matter is that the eighth generation, the things that make an eighth gen console, the Wii U is not doing. This is Nintendo's first HD console. And they're just now discovering that making a game in HD is a lot more complicated than they thought it was. And that's lessons that the rest of the gaming industry learned freaking 8 years ago when the Xbox 360 and then a year after that the PS4 came out. That's growing pains that the rest of the gaming industry has already been through, and Nintendo is just now figuring that out. It is 2013. And this is where we're at, people. This is where we're at. You have games on this thing that, at best, are pretty much current gen versions of games. That's what you have. Things like Assassin's Creed and even upcoming games like Watch Dogs. All those are the current gen models of these games because it's not going to be able to hang with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. That's simply not going to happen. Let me just stop you right now because I know what you're going to say. But DeAno, the Nintendo's doing its own thing. The Wii U and the Wii is doing its own thing. It's not meant to compete with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. Yes, I'm aware of that. That's why it's not an eighth generation console. That's what I'm trying to get through your head here. The Ouya came out, recently. Should I consider that an eighth generation console as well? Just yesterday or a couple of days ago, Sony announced the PlayStation Vita TV. It's pretty much a Vita without a screen that you plug into the TV. Should I also consider that eighth generation console? I don't. And it's not just about power. That's not all we're talking about here, but it's about theme. Each generation has had a theme that unites all of the consoles that are made in that generation. Nintendo's not falling under that, so that's why I'm not considering it a current gen console. I will explain. Okay, so let's kick it back to fifth generation right quick. Fifth generation, that's things like the Sega Saturn, the original PlayStation, and the Nintendo 64. The theme that held all of these consoles together that made them fifth generation consoles was the theme, which was 3D gaming. That's when you had games like Nights in the Dreams on the Sega Saturn, and on the original PlayStation, you had things like Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, Silent Hill. Over on the Nintendo side of things, on the N64, you of course had one of the greatest games, in my opinion, ever, Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time. You had Super Mario 64. That was when 3D gaming really came into its own. That was the theme that held these consoles together as 5th generation consoles. 6th generation, we're just going to keep on rolling. PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. The big thing here was smoothing things out, because we already had the rise of 3D gaming, but you look at them back then and they were all very polygonal and very, very blocky and ugly looking. The 6th generation was smoothing those things out. It was making everything look a lot better and a lot more realistic. That's when, of course, things like Metal Gear Solid 2, Eternal Darkness, you kind of get my point? You see where all of this is going, and it was smoothing things out and making things look a lot better. Even things like Super Mario Sunshine on the GameCube looked better. 3D is just looked better. For the first time, it actually looked good. Okay? So that's what held together the 6th generation. 7th generation was the HD era. That's when gaming grew up and came out of standard definition and grew into HD. That was the big thing in the 7th generation. Microsoft figured it out. Sony figured it out. Nintendo did not. The Wii was not a 7th gen console. It just wasn't. It broke that mold. It stepped away from the thing that made the 7th generation what it was. So now we're here in the 8th generation. Now, in case you're not paying attention to things like what the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 are doing, the big thing for the next generation is connectivity. It's being online. It's connecting to your smartphones and your tablets. It's taking that experience and branching out beyond the console. That's what the 8th generation is about. The Wii U is not doing that. The Wii U just got its HD card. It's like, way, yay, yay, we're HD now. Congratulations. Welcome to the 7th generation. That's what it is. The Wii U is a 7th generation console. If Nintendo had come out with the Wii U back in 2006, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because that would have put them on even ground with the rest of what the generation was doing, and everything would have been copacetic. The Wii was not a 7th gen console. The Wii U sure as hell, in my opinion, is not an 8th generation console, because it's not doing the things it needs to do. It's not carrying forth the theme of the next generation. What can I say? Truth in advertising. I told you guys, especially you Nintendo fans, that you weren't going to like what I had to say about the Wii U, and you probably don't. You probably got some words for me. Very well, go ahead and hit the comments. I am more than willing to discuss this whole thing. Maybe I'm coming at it from a different direction than you are. I really want to hear your input as well. But for now, it's like, I'm sorry. This is the way I see it. When I'm talking 8th gen, I'm not talking about the Wii U, because it's not an 8th gen console. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Next week, of course, very exciting. We have Grand Theft Auto 5 coming out. Going to go ahead and pick that one up at midnight. I'll be back later on launch day with my impressions of the game. That should be a lot of fun. Look forward to that. If you like this video, please go ahead and give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, you can always find me on Google+. I will see you next week.